In China, it's very very much the same, but you work your whole life basically with the same set of people. Everyone else on set is just a colleague. It's not their friend. I've seen like the DP gone like absolutely like ape shit. It was like actually crazy, like even yelling at people because they're not doing their job right, or at least not doing their job as how he imagined, you know. I don't even think I can be a grip in China. There's something called like Henan's G&E village. Every famous big set in China, it's them. Dude, they build like a C-stand so quick. They build like a combo stand so quick. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could never do that.
They've probably done it like hundreds, thousands of times.
Probably. Yeah, they're just too adept and they're just too good.
Yeah.
Wow. Because it's all like big names in China. It's all like big celebrities in China. Everyone's schedule is so tight, so they have to make the shooting time as short as possible.
Right.
So they roll 10 cameras at the same time.
Hey Alex, welcome to the podcast. We're so happy to have you. How would you describe what is you do in the film industry?
What I mainly do, I'm first of all like a film student at USC right here, and I say my focus is directing, and I like DPing as well, shooting like beautiful images. Yeah.
We currently go to USC Film School, located in Los Angeles, Hollywood, right? But there's a whole nother world, and there's multiple worlds of film in different countries, in other countries, right? There's a whole nother world of filmmaking in China where you got firsthand experience on one of the biggest sets last summer.
Yeah, right.
And that was the set that was the executive produced by Zhang Yimou, which is one of the biggest Chinese movie director. And you got to spend a whole month around that, spending on like your time on that set. Like, what was that experience like?
Oh, that was definitely a fun experience. I mean, like the director was Zhang Yimou's editor. You know, a lot of like big franchise he did, the Architecture, like things like that. You know, like Zhang Yimou's like recent films and Manjiang Hong, and it was actually like fun to be actually with like to see how film industry works in China, because I know like it's different, but different how, and it's just like actually it's not that different, because like the roles in the because I know the DP has been working with a lot of like Hollywood like directors for past years, so he has been, and also he studied at NYU as a PhD. So I don't remember, was he like a PhD or like a visiting student, but like he studied at NYU for 2 years, so he knows how the industry in Hollywood works. So it was actually very similar in terms of like the roles, you know, like how there's AC, there's camera department, there's art department, there's grip and electric, you know. It was, in terms of role, it was very similar, but in terms of like actually like how to produce it and make it happen, it was like, and also the set dynamic, I feel like, you know, the crew dynamic was kind of different, because I think in here people usually they get paid for doing like a day, like they have a day rate of doing it. They might do it today and might not do it tomorrow, but in China it's not. It's like they have like a set crew of people. So like the camera team with one DP, the camera team has always been like that. And it's been like how you, it's been like also like for grip and electric team, there's always been like that. And there's like a one guy who's the gaffer. The gaffer was once like a grip as well, but when he get old enough, when he get more like experience, he become a gaffer, and he leads his own you know, it's they I know in Hollywood it might be the same. You climb from like, you know, from a grip to like the head of the grip department, like key grip, maybe grip, a best boy, and grip, a key grip, and then you get a gaffer. Yeah. In China, it's very very much the same, but you work your whole life basically with the same set of people for your whole life, and it's actually like it has been like that a whole life. And also like, you know, in here there's like a official training. There's grip school, right? And there's like and there's union. There's no union in China, but like in China, people has just been like working with their you know, it's generation by generation. People has been working with their teacher, who brought them on set to like, so their learning experience is just like being on set as a rookie for the first time, and then to be as like, you know, to gain more experience and then gradually become like a gaffer, and that's how they work in China. And so yeah.
And so people don't freelance really?
They don't freelance. They work it full time, and they work it as like, you know, like a set crew, sort of like a family, and they work it together.
Is that a company, like a business, or
it's not it's actually very interesting. There's something called like Henan's G&E village. It's like the whole village.
Oh, right.
It's like the whole, every like famous like crew, like big set on China, like in China it's them. It's the guys who came out of the village. It's like a generational, like it's not, I mean, like they've been passing it on like generation by generation. It's like something that the whole village, the people in the whole village has been doing. Like that's
awesome.
Every people.
We do C-stands here. You know?
Dude, they build like a C-stand so quick. They build like a combo stand so quick. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could never do that.
They've probably done it like hundreds, thousands of times.
Probably. Yeah, they're just too adept and they're just too good.
Yeah. Wow. Imagine having such like an efficient crew on your side. I feel like that just supports, like, I feel like you'll be so much more confident.
Right. That, like, I mean, like jumping from a student set to like that scale, instead of like that scale, just seeing them like building like gigantic lights within like a few minutes was actually like just crazy. And you know, like, and DP always arrives on set after the lights are, I mean, like not after, but like DP gave the light plan, give the plan, the floor plan, the overhead, and they build it, and then DP arrives. So when DP arrives, everything is set.
Right,
they're ready to roll. Yeah, they're ready to roll.
Yeah. What was your specific role?
I was actually one of the second AD. So
oh, gotcha.
One of the they don't have second in China. It's just ADs, and it's just a bunch of ADs led by the first ADs.
Gotcha. So you're like coordinating some.
Yeah, I was coordinating like the extras.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes.
How many extras do they have?
It depends on the scene.
Biggest scene.
There are like small scenes that has like 1 or 2 extras. The biggest thing it was like a feast in the little rural Chinese villages, like a courtyard, probably like 100 people.
Oh wow.
Like 100 people. You know, just imagine the whole village is there.
That's awesome.
It's actually crazy. Like, it's also like here as an extra. Sometimes I know there's a union for extras, right?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But I know it's right here is more industrialized. But in China, it's like a lot of extras. They don't know how to listen to directions. I know. I mean, like for the professional actors, they're very well trained and they hit their marks and they do their job very good. But like for the extras, a lot of them are not like too professional in that case. You just have to sort of like learn how to direct them with like the daily common language that they could understand, you know.
Right, yeah.
And you know, sometimes the first AD gets so pissed at them for not knowing what to do, and they just like they start yelling.
Do you feel like there is more of a stricter dynamic on Chinese sets? Like, how is the difference between like the crews in China and how they interact versus the crews in the U.S. and how they interact?
Yeah, I think there is definitely because I think for us, for being on set, we're kind of like an outlier because we're interns and we got back from like, you know, overseas. Everybody sort of like see you as like a little different kind of job, but like for everyone else, I think it's kind of rigorous in terms of like the hierarchy. So like you know, maybe like a DP would probably sit with his own camera team, and maybe he would sit with the director, but he would never sit with like a, you know, like a grip or something to eat and like that. It's kind of like a rule that nobody talks about, but it's something that's like been there.
But are they like generally kind to each other, or is there like moments where they're like?
I think that's the problem. That's the difference between like a professional set and a student set. It's for that it's their job, and everyone else on set is just a colleague. It's not their friend. Sometimes I've seen like the DP gone like absolutely like, you know, like ape shit. It was like actually crazy, like even yelling at people because they're not doing their job right, or at least not doing their job as how he imagined, you know.
Is there an example of like a specific thing they did that like made him?
Yeah, I think there was like a cam op. Actually, speaking of which, the cam op also studied at NYU as well.
Oh, okay.
Because there were two camera. The B cam op was like actually absolutely. He was new to the set. He usually just DP'd some like TV series in China, like small budget.
Yeah.
But like his first time on like a big feature set, and sometimes when DP tell him to like put the camera, and that way so we're dolly back to reveal his like maybe like to make it like a close up, to make it like a medium close up, and maybe he'll miss it like a little bit. Maybe instead of like a close up, it got a little too close, too tight. And DP will be just like, oh, what are you doing? You don't know what a close up is, and just go there and just sort of like took over the camera and just started DPing himself.
I feel like
That's crazy.
I feel like that must be like somewhat more common in that environment. I just feel like that's just the general work culture.
Yeah, I feel like that.
In Chinese sets. So, what would you say is like after like about a month there? Like, what was the biggest takeaway from working there that you think it would bring into your own work?
Like a takeaway, I definitely respect the profession, the professional like knowledge and the proficiency they have, and like, you know, how they build the lights so fast and set up like the sound and like the workflow. I say like the workflow because it's one of the most important things. It helps you save a lot of time and make like a good film. Make sure you don't lose anything. Yeah, the workflow is definitely very important because, like, you know, when they bring extras on set and they have ADs who's responsible for that, and they have they have something like called like an actors coordinator or something.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll just like coordinate the time, like everyone arrives on set and when they should get wardrobe and the love mic on, so like you don't get messed up. You don't be on. You don't like. You're not like going for a take and then forgot that someone hasn't had their love mic on or something like that. So and it saves the time a lot, and yeah, I say like the workflow definitely.
Do you feel like, you know, you were describing the work environment that a lot of the crew had to endure? Like, is that something you would want to do yourself as a grip in China, or like?
A grip? I don't even think I can be a grip in China because remember I was saying like how they have a set crew where they grip for each other, and they it's basically about knowing people, you know, like about like the gaffer.
Yeah.
And the gaffer, you know, you guys came out of the same like village in China, and you grew up together, and maybe you become like a, you know, when he's gaffer and you're the grip.
Do people like those crews, like, do they get paid well? Or
I think that's another thing, you know, like it's definitely better than most of the other jobs that's not getting paid well. I mean, like, it's definitely above the line, it's above average, but still there's like a huge gap. I think that's something even more serious in Hollywood as well. You know, for DP they get paid like a lot more than a cam up, and then a cam up get paid a lot more than AC. So you know what I'm saying, like it grows exponentially.
Yeah. I mean, where do these like grips and gaffers, DPs, do they go to film school in China, or do they just like trade school? What is that like?
That's another thing I was gonna say. So for any so sort of like I'll say like cam up is like sort of like the line. Anything above that, you have to go to like a film school to be qualified for that. Most of them went to Beijing Film Academy, and some of them like study abroad, like the one I said who was in NYU, and there's another guy who's studying Emerson, I think, and Beijing Film Academy. So they, back in college days, they started making films. They started like getting in touch with those big DPs, and they brought them on set, and you know that's how it works. But for anything that's like first AC or below, you don't have to go to film school. And most of them didn't. I think all of them didn't go to film school at all, and most of them probably didn't go to college, and they just, you know, but they worked their way up, which is something I respect a lot, you know.
How do you work your way up in China?
I think you just have to know someone who brings you on as like a camera PA. You know, if for example you want to be in camera team,
yeah,
and want to be like camera PA, and then you just sort of like learn. So yeah, the one of the most important things is about knowing someone.
And how did you get on this set?
Okay, so I actually knew someone who's like who's the lead in the film, and and I also know the producer as well. So
How did you know the producer?
because they the girl who's playing the lead is my friend Sola. She's also USC. She's SDA, also double majoring neuroscience as well. I think.
Wow. And she was shooting something in China.
And she was shooting something in China.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
What's her relations to that set?
Her mom is the producer of Zhang Yimou, designated producer of Zhang Yimou.
Gotcha.
Her mom is a super cool person, and sort of like she and Zhang Yimou's son, they just like they grew up together, so it's
Right.
really cool.
And I'm pretty sure his son went here, I think.
Yeah, he saw one here. He graduated like 2 years ago.
That's right. I was his
Yeah.
classmate for one discussion.
Oh, damn.
I didn't learn who he was until
Yeah,
later, but that's a different story.
I
He's
think
a cool guy.
I think she was Zhang Yimou's goddaughter. I think.
Oh, okay,
So
cool.
yeah,
What is he doing now, Zhang Yimou's son?
Zhang Yimou's son. Oh,
I think
that's
he's
actually very
doing-
interesting.
I think he's doing animation or something.
No, he's actually he's in Bilibili right now in Shanghai. He's making games.
Oh, games. I thought he
Yeah.
was doing
Oh.
animation.
Is
Is he not
Okay.
doing films anymore?
Yeah, I think no longer. Yeah,
I think
No, he's not-
games is still, it's similar to
Yeah, but
to
he's.
film, but
I think
it's-
he. I heard from like people on set that he's like more interested in like games
Oh,
other than film. I don't know for some reason.
You know what? You gotta find your own path.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe
that's
that's
what
just
he
what he
likes. I
enjoys,
respect
so,
that. You know,
yeah.
because Johnny Mo's like younger son was he's learning music in Yale.
Oh,
right?
really?
You know,
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
did you get to meet Johnny Mo on the set, or?
No, I didn't. But
Okay.
but Benson did. Benson did.
Oh, well, Benson, he acted in a
I
few
mean,
other.
last summer in The Art of Cal, he met Johnny Mo.
That's
I
sick.
mean,
That's cool.
he directed the scene, but you know.
Yeah.
Also, like speaking of which, I heard in that scene, in that film, you know what's so crazy?
What?
The DP Zhao Xiaoding was Zhang Yimou's designated like DP. It DP'd everything from Heroes to like to
Oh, wow.
to you know
That's-
yeah, from like
That's
basically
like
everything.
2 to 3 decades
That's like
of a partnership.
Yeah, right. I know, right? And in that film, because everyone's time is so like everyone's schedule, because it's all like big names in China. It's all like big celebrities in
Yeah.
China. Everyone's schedule is so tight, so they have to make the shooting time as short as possible.
Right.
So they roll 10 cameras at the same time. 10 cameras at the same time.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I know that's what they did on Gladiator too. They had like
Right?
5 different cameras shooting at the same time, and you're just like looking at the
Dude,
monitor and you're
that'd
just
be
trying to figure everything
crazy.
out. Yeah.
So just imagine that 10 camera operators,
Right.
maybe probably 20 ACs.
Yeah, they
and-
probably all
Wow.
got yelled at too.
Yeah, it's actually so crazy, and they have to hide the camera so well, so
Right, because so they don't like trump on,
yeah,
or they don't see the
it.
camera.
You
Yeah.
don't see the camera. So
Yeah, yeah.
It's actually something so crazy.
Wow, imagine the editor too, like
Yeah.
getting all that footage. Like,
Oh my God.
But the good thing is
7.
that you don't get continuity issue, you know.
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, when you're editing, that's just perfectly in sync.
Right, right.
Yeah, that's
But,
neat.
yeah.
but sometimes that has like low flaws as well, because to save time, you may have less time to get the best performance you want
Right.
out of the neck. Yeah, you know, because sometimes for the Y, you could like, you could like maybe you haven't reached that level yet, but when you get to closer, and when you know director talks to the actors more, maybe they could reach that level. But you know, for rolling 10 cameras at the same time, you only have sort of like just one chance, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you're really into like the tech side of things, right? Like, is
Yeah.
that something you'd want to do more in the future, like camera stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I was a low geek growing up. I love just studying how camera works. But I like DPing a lot. I like shooting things because I want to make things look beautiful, and yeah.
Would you want to work in China, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would totally, if I get a chance, I would totally do that. I think I heard the salary level in China is not too bad, especially as like a DP or a camera.
Yeah, in camera. Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
really?
I think a DP equivalent to US dollars like for film scale like that, a DP gets they don't get shares of the box office, but they get salary of like 70K a month.
$70K a month.
That's pretty good.
US dollars. Yeah.
That's really good.
That's really.
yeah.
that's great,
For a cam up, it's like 20K a month.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's still like a long journey to get there. I feel like you don't just.
Yeah,
right
you
off the
don't
bat
just
like that.
start
Yeah.
off right there because
Right.
even the B cam op, he get yelled at, but he has done like a lot of DP works for like TV series.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, what if you knew
He's super
Johnny Mo's son though? Like, can you just get there right away?
I feel like you could, but your work is just not going to be that good. You know,
Right.
It's not something that maybe I want to do. You know, just knowing and just get to that position, but your ability does not match your
Right.
role.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
they got like a show to run and things have to run
Right.
smoothly.
You
so.
could be like AD
like
or
a
something.
AD or PA maybe.
You could learn from
Yeah.
that. You know, AD, PA.
Yeah.
But taking like key roles like that requires ability and responsibility. So I feel
Yeah. I mean, why do you think right now, looking like maybe things are starting to shift, but why do you think right now the dominant like industry in Hollywood or in the movie industry is Hollywood, like not China? Like, when do you think China will, make as much buzz in the film spaces?
Yeah, because recently, like last month, Naja
Yeah.
number
The
2,
second
right?
one, yeah.
The second one was reached a global box
Top
office top 5.
5. Yeah,
top
that's
5.
right.
Yeah,
Ever, all time.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Some big names like Avatar, like Titanic. It was among them, so it was actually crazy.
Yeah.
I think Chinese market definitely has like very large potential of like film, but it's one thing is like a lot of people think that they regulate too much. They sort of they censor a lot of things.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, what country doesn't censor anything? Every country censors something.
I think a lot of it is also about buzz, like creating like a need
Right.
for audience to go to see it.
Right,
It's like
right.
somehow this movie caught like that wave where people just had to go see it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it almost represents like a phase in Chinese animation or cinema where it's like, yeah, I'm happy and willing to spend my money to help this movie get to where it needs to be.
Right.
And so it's a different dynamic than just, oh, this is a cool trailer, or like, this is a cool movie, I'll go see
Right,
it.
right.
And then it builds like such momentum that it'll just lead to like such box office success. I haven't seen the movie myself, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it. It looks beautiful, actually.
Mm.
Like the rendering work was actually beautiful.
Yeah. So like a lot of, I feel like in China, that's kind of the golden standard. But do you think like
Right.
that same level of buzz is translatable in the US? Like, could a Hollywood movie have the same effect here or in?
I think
China.
for for some, I don't think it's transferable because I've never heard of some, maybe for Oppenheimer, but I've never heard of like just a single person going to the cinema and live there for 3 days to watch watch the film 8 times or like 20 times.
Right.
It's actually crazy. I've never heard of something in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually it's not a common thing in China, but like people do that.
Right, right.
It's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like there isn't that big of a sense of togetherness in America. Like, I feel like people are way more individualistic.
Right.
Where it's like there is no certain theme where everyone in America is like, whoa, I agree, or
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And people wouldn't be so excited about like breaking the box office records or something. They wouldn't be like, "Oh, I need to
Right.
contribute to this to
Right.
make this like top 5 or something in
Right.
the world." But like actually, that's something Chinese people are crazy about. They're like, "Oh, we have to get this in the top," so I
Right.
go to the cinema to watch it. So I feel like it's just like the mindset of people are different.
Right.
Yeah.
I was saying like in like a lot of big blockbusters in Hollywood that's made here, I feel like they cater to like the widest possible audience, but in a way like we were just talking about, a lot of times it doesn't necessarily work out well because they're trying to capture so many different demographics, different cultures,
Right.
and different races that it's
Sometimes-
hard to really get all of them. So I feel like in a strange way, the way Hollywood works is there's almost more opportunity for like more individualistic and specific stories that
Right.
people can somehow either they belong in that group and they enjoy it, or they find something fresh and new and that's what draws them in. But that's just It's just a different
Right,
environment.
I totally agree on that.
Yeah, and back to what you were saying earlier about how on set there's like a whole different dynamic of like rigor, you know, and that idea of like, you know, you can make someone kind of feel bad and it's normal. Like, why do you think that is in more common in China than, I mean, I rarely hear people, you know, in that intensity in the States, right? So, like, why do you think there's that cultural difference?
Because I think they care more about the work, if the work is done or not. But here people care about, you know, how many hours have I been working. I can't go overtime, you know, that's outside the contract. But there at China it's about like getting the work down. And it's not something that's good or something that's bad. It's something that's like, you know,
Different.
it's just different, you
It's
know.
just, yeah, like I think a cultural.
Yeah, like, you know,
difference.
for the people who work there, you know, they're not protected so well by the contract. No, but in the set that I was in, we wrapped early every time. But you know,
Yeah.
if it's going overtime,
Right, it's just
they have to go
overtime.
overtime. You know,
Right, because
they have to
it's
go
still
overtime,
it's still
you know.
shooting. Yeah.
I've heard from like the other ADs. They worked on other films. There's one AD who has been like who had like maybe like 3 hours of sleep every day for like a week because he had to wrap like so late and just wake up so early,
Right.
and that's just the way he had to live.
I think that's just like, and it goes beyond just film. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
really just about the work culture in
The
general.
work culture,
and,
yeah.
and it's like different in every country. I feel like.
But I think, yeah, a lot of time like they are protected. I think there is like a overtime,
Yeah.
like an extra bonus for overtime, but like sometimes they are not. So you know, it's just really about how your producer and your set.
How
I think in the set that I was on,
Yeah.
even if you go overtime, there's a bonus. But we have never gone overtime. So
if you were the director and producer or exec to run a set, like which model of set would you want to have yourself?
I definitely would appreciate a little, you know, overtime bonus and like a contract that protects everyone, because you know there's no union in China, which leaves every individual film worker alone. So they have to really fight for their rights, I think.
Yeah, I mean, would you want your crew to work at the intensity in China, or would you want your crew to work like how they work in America?
Because you know, I personally, I think you know, director has to think about a lot of things, and thinking about it for like 16 hours, maybe my brain would just like stop functioning. And also like, I know how it will be like to work overtime. So I definitely would just do like at most 12 hours a day, I think.
Yeah, you'd want to protect.
I
your-
want to protect.
I think it's like a push and pull thing where it's like, yeah, obviously you want the work to be done, but
Yeah.
also like a well-fed and well-treated crew also gets the job better. So it's kind of like a weird dynamic where it's like,
Also,
do
yeah,
you
think about
do this or that?
right. Think about how talents, if you go over time, they what they show on camera is maybe like, instead of you want them to
Yeah,
show
exactly.
tenderness, and they show anger. You know.
Right. It's like they're so burnt out. And it's
Right.
like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Of course. So would you? So in that case, then, do you feel like it's good to have the people like, I don't know, treated more nice, like your friend, more of a community that dynamics align more with your values? You think?
To me, I would definitely treat people nice as I can. I know sometimes maybe there are situations that I will go nuts, but I in general I will treat people very nice, because you know they deserve respect. They're working really hard for the film, and but I wouldn't say I would treat them as, you know, friends, because I feel like it's in the industry world, it's just like you have to get professional, and if you build like personal relation, you could build personal relationship to like certain people, but like to all of them you couldn't be friends, because if you're the director, you're the one who's making the call. If you're friends to everyone, you kind of have to listen to, oh, so you have a suggestion like that, and you have a suggestion like that. Maybe what do I do? You have to really just be, you know, make your decision.
I think it's like a tricky balance between.
It's a tricky balance, definitely.
Hierarchy and teamwork, and I think it's really about like choosing the right people to handle their sector of things, so you don't really have to worry about it, and you just do like your directing or your producing or whatever, and, and just obviously having like a really positive and friendly mindset helps, but then I feel like especially on your set and we're like on like bigger blockbuster sets, like the director can't be listening to everybody,
Right,
be everybody's
right.
friend. Like you just got to be locked in on directing.
Yeah.
But if you have a good team that trusts you and you were friends with the team members, like the producers or the first AD, then I think you can run a pretty smooth
Right,
set.
that's true. That's true. And also, like, I feel like another tricky thing that I want to talk about is like I feel like it's kind of tricky how to as a director for like a commercial film, for like a big budget film, you're responsible for not only your own vision, you're also responsible for like the people who gave the money, you know.
Right,
And,
the financiers in the studio.
so
Yeah, yeah.
it's really tricky, and also like there are some big names on the film. For example,
Mm-hmm.
if you have like Brad Pitt in your
Right.
film,
Yeah.
but imagine if Brad Pitt wouldn't behave well, what do you do? Like
Yeah, no, it's a
like,
tricky balance.
That's
yeah.
a very
It's like,
tricky balance.
You're kind of stuck in the middle.
Yeah, you get like, okay, so what do I do? And also if you tell them, if you direct them and they wouldn't listen to you, what do you do? Like, you know, they're big names. You can't just like be like, you can't just pull the director card saying that I'm the director. And
Right.
Yeah.
so it's a tricky thing in working in the real world.
Yeah.
You know.
Would you ever consider working like on the more business side of things, like maybe acquisitions or distribution or like financing? Would that be something that like not necessarily physical production, but like almost like managing
I see what you mean.
the content and the
Yeah, I've thought about that, but I just say like making the film, the production side is more fascinating to me, I think personally.
I mean, you earlier talked about when you come onto these projects, you got to know people, right? Like, what is your way of like networking at USC, or even like how do you make friends? Like, how do you know
At
people
USC,
in general in the industry? I think.
okay, definitely at USC or in an industry, the best way in film is just to be on set and just know them, because you know being on set is sort of like a way of showing your work ability and your work ethics. So if people like your work, your way of working, they'll invite you to another set. Then maybe they have a project they will invite you on.
Yeah.
That's I feel like that's how I get on most of the set, and that's how I get maybe, you know, even bigger sets, you know. That's just how I know people.
How did you know Sola on this set?
Oh no, she was actually through like we were just like chatting over like a hot pot in Haidilao, and
Oh, yeah.
it was very interesting because my friend from high school actually knows her because they went to the same middle school, so I just knew her.
Oh, okay.
That was like interesting, and also like she knew Vincent, which is a very good friend of mine. So you know,
a lot of it I feel like it's just kind of unpredictable. I feel like
it's
I've
just so random. You know?
I've met people randomly just and then they have a connection there and then it's kind of a line of connectivity.
Yeah, but if you want like a
yeah.
steady way of meeting people, like if you're new to USC and you're new to like a film school or even new to the industry, the best way just to get on set, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's cliche, but you know, getting on set
Yeah.
does a lot.
How was your 310 experience, by the way? Because you were one of the only trios, not only trio, but you were one of the trios that stood out to me as the trio that really stuck together.
Your show was very good.
Well, you guys didn't have any conflict. You were all just joking, laughing, and you guys are really good friends even to this day, right?
Yeah.
So how did you manage that? Because I think a whole lot of that is that interpersonal skills, you know, having good communication and just good work ethic. So
I think one thing is just luck, you know, like getting to know like because they're good people, and you know, working with people with bad work ethic is just like it sucks. I know.
yeah.
And a lot of my friends has like this experience. So, well, one thing about it is like luck. Another thing is about like being like a good person yourself. You know, like also like being responsible for other people's project, not just like, you know, oh, I'm like working so hard for my own project, but I don't give a damn about other people's project, which is so disrespectful, you know.
Yeah.
Because in the film industry, most of the time you don't get to work on your own project. You get to work on other people's project, and you have to respect that because that's your job.
Yeah.
In school, maybe you don't get paid, but it's a good way of learning. It's a good way of like, you know.
I think that's one of the like points of the 310 class is to force you to work with people
That you don't
that
know.
you might not know very well and that you still have to collaborate and figure out
I
a way
think
through.
I think I respect that part of like the USC curriculum.
How'd you like working with your trio mates?
It was fun, because we all came from different part of the world. I still remember the first meeting we had. I was so late because I overslept, but like,
Yeah.
but we had a call. We are in different time zone, three of us,
Oh, okay.
all in different time zone. Because Danny, she's from she was in Lebanon at the time, and I was in China at the time, and Reese was in the U.S.
Wow.
So it's like every different. We have to find like a time that sort of like fits everybody's schedule, and
That's
it's
crazy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then getting to school, and I feel like it's just like because we had we come from like backgrounds that are so different. We just get to like joke about it all the times. It's just seeing how cultures are so different from cultures.
Yeah.
It's also like a fun part of filmmaking, because you're making something that's like we're all making something that's, because for Danny's film it's about in Lebanon and Beirut, about a family getting bombed and trying to hide that. That's like a part of history that I didn't know. Just making that film just taught me so much of that part of the history, and also the culture, or the how it's the conflict there. Also explains, kind of explains a little bit of the conflict that's happening there today still.
Yeah.
So just making film really makes you learn more about the world.
That's really awesome. I'm gonna try to get Danny on the podcast.
Yeah, hell
She
yeah.
would be cool. And Reese maybe.
Yeah, hell yeah. Let Reese know.
Yeah. So what were some like fun stories that from working with your trio mates?
Oh yeah, I remember first time meeting with Reese. He told me that, okay, so yeah, he has a car, and he's like, he didn't buy the the parking permit in school, so he has nowhere to park on campus. And there were like one time, and he was like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna park it at RZC, which is like a building that's like named after Robert Zemeckis. And when he got there, there's like a guy. He's like, okay, even if the guy stops me, I'm just gonna tell him, okay, maybe I sort of own the building a little bit. It was so funny to me. It was so funny. And also like he called Tom Hanks Uncle Tom, which is something that's so funny. In my movie, there's a scene where we have to shoot like an insert, sort of like Oppenheimer, and we want to shoot like the water ripple. And we would light it with like a very orange light. We put like a two full CTO onto like a 1K, I think. And we light we want to see the reflection on the water so good, but we just couldn't get it, no matter how we try to angle the light and the water tank. And so in the middle, he just like called his dad. He was like, okay, yo, so how are we supposed to do it? And his dad just taught us how to angle the light. So we had to angle the light directly into the lens, so it reflects into the lens, so we don't see anything under the water. The water is no longer like transparent in that case. You see that. I was like, oh damn, he really knows how to do it. And yeah.
I mean, of all the application films that went to USC from our cohort, yours is one of the most interesting ones, where it was like a collection of black and white photographs that tell the story. How do you think, like, what made you come up with that concept, and what do you think is a possibility of storytelling in the narrative space, I think?
Yeah, so I was always like a big fan of like experimental film. So I was like, I want to make something interesting. I don't want to just, and I always like, because back in the documentary days, I took a lot of like pictures alongside with my documentary to like sort of like, not like still pictures, but like they have movement in it, like blurry effect with like low shutter speed, like. So I thought maybe it would be fun to make something like a film out of that concept, like a whole collage of like pictures, and I just sort of like worked out like a story and just built based on the concept.
Yeah. And I think when it comes to being experimental in film, you have to think outside of the box, right?
Yeah.
But however, you're also very interested in like STEM stuff, which feels like it is very boxed in, right?
Yeah.
So how do you balance those two, and why are you so experimental with film but also love STEM?
Yeah, so I'm also like double majoring in like mathematics and USC as well. But like yeah. So speaking of which, I think just studying STEM like majors like math specifically gives me like another like how do you say like another kind of perspective of filmmaking. Like it's not always sometimes it's not always like about how you like get creative and stuff. You see how like a lot of Christopher Nolan film they have like scientists as like a
Consultants.
like as consultant for their film concept to make the world believable. So you have a lot of like work that's right comes right after the creative process to make your world actually believable and make your film actually like a it's not like it's not like you just came on top of your head and just start like decide to make like a random film, and you're actually making like a whole world that people will buy it. So
Do you think the science part of it also kind of ties into a little bit of philosophy? Because I feel like science fiction is one of the best like genres to explore like fundamental questions.
yes, definitely. Okay, so growing up, I read a lot of like science fiction novels, like Isaac Asimov and stuff like that. I was like, it's getting like deeper and deeper. I think it's it's sometimes it's not just about the science; it's also about like how it connects with the world that we live in, about how it connects with the universe, how we interpret the world. I think film is also like a way of doing it. Film is like a way of how we see the world, how we interpret the universe. So I think combining the two really gives you like an interesting perspective. So yeah, so I really like the philosophy that maybe looking at the philosophy of like looking at how looking at how you make film with the perspective of science and math in it will bring you like philosophy, I think. Yeah.
I mean, speaking on that, like, what do you think is the reason why we're all here, Alex?
Me personally, I wouldn't speak for all human being. I mean, like I just speak for myself. I think I'm like here in the world to live like a life. Like how the universe has been here for like several several billion years, and we're just here for like a few for a few decades. But still, we're here to experience the world and just to feel it, and maybe possibly to let someone remember you, to leave like a trace in the world, and maybe to leave some memory in the world for someone else to make low impact. That's what I thought. Make yeah.
Do you think meaning is explainable by science?
Yeah, like the other day I was actually discussing this with like a math professor about how to explain like life with like science, or not just like life as in biology, but like just life as in like philosophical meaning of
Right.
life with like science and math. And he said it was like a very interesting topic that a lot of like mathematician and scientist like has been like studying, like Isaac Newton. He has been like following like in his later year he has been like studying a lot of topics on how maybe the meaning of life possibly would be in terms of like religion, or even like so it's really like a topic that a lot of us has been like studying. I think I wouldn't say that you can fully explain it with the knowledge that we have right now, because there are so many things that we still don't know, and plus the meaning. I feel like, and also I feel like meaning is kind of personal, so it belongs to yourself.
Right.
So even if you could explain it, it will be like it will be. It's kind of like a paradox. I feel like to explain it, you have to know what it is. But like most of the time, I would say like all of the time, we don't know what it is. We're
Right.
spending our whole life searching for it.
Isn't there like a whole theory that like the more we know, the more we don't know?
Right.
So like the more we explore and understand things, the more we realize that there's more that we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just imagine like endless space with edgeless space. Just like you're exploring more, and just found out there are actually more outside. That's basically what it is.
I mean, you say that things in life are all subjective, where it gives you assign the meaning, the individual assigns the meaning. Doesn't that kind of void all like scientific understanding? Because what science is, it's saying that these are the set of rules for everybody, right?
Right.
So if you think like everything is something you give meaning to, then how can science be something that tells everyone how to think.
Yeah, I think like science, it's like sort of like it's what I think science is. It's like you couldn't state that it's like absolutely objective,
No, yeah.
because it's sort of like science is not about inventing things. It's about actually finding the patterns in the universe and sort of like giving it like a way of explaining the patterns. So it's also created by human. Like it's how most of the people in the world like see as like a rule, but it's we only have what like 7 billion people on Earth, but they're what think about if there are other like part of the universe that we haven't gone to and we couldn't explain the things there, and so it's based on our own like perception as well, our own perspective. It's actually not something that's like universal or like objective for sure. It's something that's like I feel like it's still we're still exploring.
I think like especially recently, like in science, there's more of a move towards like generally like things aren't like science is defined by uncertainty. You look the quantum studies and like all of that leads to the idea that things aren't exactly like set in stone. Like the state of the universe is flux, is change, is uncertainty.
Yeah, the Heisenberg uncertainty.
Right. So like a lot of it ended up actually lead towards like this idea of like constant change and uncertainty. So I feel like that almost creates like a soothing effect where like the meaning that you create all of a sudden becomes special because you are all of this uncertainty. All of a sudden it comes like from you comes like meaning and these things that you assign as meaningful. So like that almost serves as like it's paradoxical, but I find that pretty interesting.
Actually, there's a novel by Isaac Asimov, like a short one. It's about like I think it's called The Ultimate Question or something. It was actually like so like it was asking like, so when can we predict the future? And even like after like a few thousand years, like human invented like super AI, which could like collect every data in on Earth or even like the solar system. It still can predict, because like technically if you, like within like a limited space, if you like collect every data, you can predict what the movement
the next
movement. But like to collect to do that to predict the future for what happens in the real world, because we're not in like a so limited space, and you have to collect the data of the whole universe, and that you can never really achieve that because
And if you think like everyone has their own ideas of how life is, right? How does that apply to when you make art? Because when you make art, it's more of an expression of yourself and how you see the world, right? And you're not really supposed to like with that philosophy, you really aren't trying to tell people how to live life or what is the truth in life. So how does that like inform how you make art and stuff?
Actually, it was funny that like every time like in cinematography class, like you need to calculate the volcanoes and stuff like that. It was very interesting, but like maybe one thing that math gives you is just those things get to be like on top of your head very very quickly. But I think yes, like speaking of how studying those or like how those could like shape my understanding of like art and film. Last semester we had our junior thesis where we make it's called 310, and we make like our like low 6 minutes film, and so I think a lot of people like are making like interesting stories, definitely a lot of like based on their own life, but like I think math is just something that could like let you maybe get a peek look of what the world look like, what it gives you like a little keyhole to see how maybe the world operates. So I wrote like a story based on that, maybe like just understanding how maybe another like scientific like discovery, how that works, and I just made it into like a science fiction movie, and I thought it was interesting because I feel like studying those other subjects maybe give you like a, because film is about depicting world, and those subjects are a part of the world, so it's a part of the world that that your film may take place in. So that's what I thought, maybe studying something, exploring the part of the world, and maybe make a film about it.
If you could bring 3 physical items on an island that you find yourself stuck at, what would they be? that isn't necessary for survival.
Okay, but I could sustain
Like
myself.
spiritual peace. Yeah.
Oh, spiritual. Okay. Okay, I'll bring my favorite book, favorite
Which
science
is?
fiction book, which is The End of Eternity by Isaac Asimov. It's so good. Explore time travel and like,
Oh, I gotta read that.
and it's so philosophical. Makes you like think about the whole human race. Like, what's the meaning of the whole human race? It's very interesting. And what else? I'll probably bring like let me it's a hard one. I'll bring a guitar because I play music. I love
Yes,
it's
sir.
just like, sometimes when you're so
Yeah.
lonely, you get to really have music as a company. I'll bring a phone, not for playing, but for all the memories I have. Trying to remember who I have, who I know outside the island, and also there's a camera feature on it. You can take pictures and take videos.
Cool.
And can make your own little films.
Good answer.
So on the show, we have the previous guest leave the current guest a question. And the previous guest of this show left you a question,
Yeah.
which is, what's your favorite recipe?
For food?
Yes.
Favorite recipe?
That's what I asked too, and she wrote it.
Oh, shit. Favorite recipe? I feel like if I say anything that's like, because I'm not like great at cooking. So
That's
if
what I
say
said.
anything that's like,
Anything.
okay, I'll say like when you cook instant noodle, especially like the spicy ones,
Yes.
you put the you put the condiments in first, right? And boil the noodle. And then the most important thing is you put some sesame oil in it when it's cooked. And then leave the lids on for like 2 minutes and then eat it. It's so good.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
it
right.
is. That is a really good.
Yeah.
That's
so good.
that's awesome. Well, Alex, what's one thing you want in the future?
Squeaking noise.
What do you think you want in the future, your audiences in the future, to take away from your work?
I want them to really to step up. Maybe I don't know if maybe step out of the theater. Maybe just turn their computer off, like just finish watching something or reading something. Maybe just think about their connection to this world and their meaning of. I know it's kind of deep, but like I want them to like really think about how this maybe there's a potential that this world is like how they're like seeing from like almost like a third point of view perspective of themselves and how they see the world, how they how they perceive the world. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on this show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great having you.